Okay, today we're going to be looking at angles in standard position on our Cartesian plane. So any angle can go on the Cartesian plane, and there's some important terminology that's going to help us discuss the angles. The first thing that we want to note is that the initial arm is the beginning of an angle, and it's always in this location along the x-axis. It's always here. The terminal arm is the other arm of the angle. This is what creates the angle, and it can be in any of these quadrants. This creates a principal angle, so you can add that to your sheet here. This creates a principal angle that is in standard position. This is when the initial arm of the angle is on the positive x-axis. So this principal angle is in standard position. There are two different ways that we can create an angle. The first way is a positive angle. So this would be an angle that opens in the positive direction. So I'm just going to throw an angle right there. And then I'm going to say that this is opening in the positive direction, which means it's going from, as a review, this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So a positive angle opens in numerical order. It goes from 1 to 2. That's a positive angle. A negative angle, on the other hand, 1, 2, 3, and 4, can still be in the exact same spot, except it's going to open clockwise. So it's actually going to go starting in 4 and work its way around to the angle. Okay, so let's label these angles at least approximately. So this first positive angle would be probably 90 plus 40. So let's call this like 130. Okay. This negative angle would be at least 180 plus maybe 30 more. So let's call this negative 220. Okay, and I know that it's negative because I'm starting here and I'm going around in the opposite direction, counting my degrees exactly the same way. A coterminal angle is another angle that's going to have an overlap of the terminal arm. The terminal arms are shared or coterminal. So that just means that we're just going to take our standard position angle and add or subtract 360 degrees to it. So for example, if you had an angle of 1 degree in standard position, 361 degrees would be a coterminal angle. It would end up in the exact same spot. You would go all the way around the circle plus 1 more. So let's draw a couple of these. All right, so the first one up, 150 degrees. So I'm just going to go 150. I'm going from quadrant 1 and around counterclockwise because I have a positive angle. And I need to go 90, and then I need to go 60 more. So I'm just going to put it in about here, and I'm going to call that 150 degrees. Okay, now I need to state 2 other coterminal angles. So I can use my calculator if I want. I'm going to go 150 plus 360. That's 510. That means that I would go 360 degrees all the way around and then another 150 degrees, and that would give me to the coterminal angle of 510 degrees. I could go all the way around again. That would bring me to the angle of 870 degrees, which would be all the way around twice and then another 150 degrees. Let's try this next one. Negative 100 degrees. So I'm going to be starting in quadrant in my initial arm, starting where it always does, except now I'm going to be moving backwards clockwise from quadrant 4 back through 3. So I know that this would be 90 degrees. So I'm going to put my terminal arm about there, and I'm going to call that negative 100 degrees. Okay, negative 100 degrees plus 360 would be 260 degrees. So a coterminal angle would be 260 degrees. And that does make sense because this would be about 260 degrees. This would be 270 degrees, so that does make sense. As an alternative, I'm just going to go back 360 degrees because remember, I can add or subtract a full rotation from my angle in standard position. So negative 100 minus 360 degrees, so if I were to back it up another whole rotation, that would be a coterminal angle of 460 degrees. All right, last but not least, I have this 570 degree angle. Okay, so what I want to do here is I actually want to figure out how many times around this is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 570 divided by 360. .58. Okay, so this is the number of times that I'm rotating. So some of the questions in the textbook are going to ask you to calculate this number. So I know that I'm going to go all the way around once. So I want to figure out what's left after I do that. So I'm going to go 570, take away 360. So that's 210. So I'm going to go all the way around once. I'm just going to record that. One rotation plus 210 degrees. Okay. So I'm going to start on my initial arm, and I'm going to go all the way around. And I'm going to go another 210 degrees. I'm going to go another 180 degrees. And maybe I'm not totally sure, so I'm going to say, oh, I already did 180 degrees. Now I got to go another 30 degrees. So I'm going to go another 30 degrees, and there's my angle right there. This is my angle of 570. And it's in quadrant 3. Okay, so I can record that too. Some of the textbook questions ask you for that. Okay, I also need to find two other coterminal angles to 570. So I'm going to say, oh, let's do one. Let's just go subtract. So 570, subtract 360. Oh, I actually already did that. I know that it's 210. And let's subtract 360 again. 210, take away 360. Anytime we're adding or subtracting a full rotation, we're getting a coterminal angle. So these would be two coterminal angles.